In 1841, author John Lloyd Stephens and his artist Frederick Catherwood traveled through the Yucatan Peninsula, exploring over 40 Mayan ruins. His memoir, Incidents of Travel in Yucatan, was a huge hit. He introduced the world to the Maya. Today, anyone with a passport can get to Cancun in just a few hours. Cancun lies just a few hours south of Winter on the northern edge of the Yucatan Peninsula facing the Caribbean Sea. In 1970, there were only 3 people living on this spit of sand and grass. The Mexican government knew that the white powder sands and Maya blue waters would draw northerners by the plane and boatload, and they were right. Today, 750,000 people live and work near this adult playground. The Cancun Hotel Zone is a several kilometers long spit of sand and grass lined with hotels, clubs, and restaurants. You will find everything you need here. If you want to spend your days soaking up the UVs, snorkeling, and stuffing yourself with food and drink, you will love Cancun. And if you want to delve into the ancient Maya past, you can start your adventures here. We get our first taste of authentic Mexico at Habichuela Sunset. This is an old-school restaurant where the servers wear uniforms and treat guests with dignity. They also serve bugs. All things considered, the grasshoppers, or chapulines, seem to be the best choice. Chapulines are grasshoppers eaten in certain areas of Mexico. They're collected wild, washed, toasted with garlic, lime juice, and salt. They may be eaten as snacks or as a filling. I'm going the taco route. I found them to be a bit like bacon bits with legs.
What do you think? It's salty.
If you want to get out of the heat and enjoy some air conditioning and learn something about ancient Mayan culture, I suggest the Museo Maya de Cancun. You can walk through the shards and pieces of 14,000 years of Yucatan culture, from Ice Age cave dwellers through the great civilization of the ancient Maya. The star-worshipping, blood-sacrificing Maya created a magnificent civilization that spanned more than 2,000 years. City-states vied with each other for wealth and power and resources, and fought wars and decapitated defeated warriors and captives. They plotted the night sky and had a time-keeping system more sophisticated than anything found in the rest of the world during their era. Today, millions of Maya live in the Yucatan and throughout Central America. If you are in Cancun and want to spend a pleasant morning walking in a lovely Mayan ruin, jump on the R2 bus and head in the direction of the airport. Jump off near Playa Delfines. There is no all-you-can-eat option at El Rey, so it will be relatively quiet. The site is from the early Classic period, roughly 250 to 600 AD. The first settlers built homes and platforms, probably similar to the palapas you still see all over the Yucatan. This is a good place to start your Mayan ruins adventure, as it was built at a time when the Mayan civilization was just starting to reach its full potential. Between about the year 200 and 1200, the inhabitants fished and produced salt and traded with other cities and paid taxes to the powerful centers of the region. After the arrival of the Spanish in the 16th century, the site was abandoned by the Maya. The site has 47 secular and religious structures. Building number 2 consists of a pyramid temple used as a tomb for a person of high rank and contained a copper axe, a bracelet, and shell and bone ornaments. You can still see the red paint in some of the stones. You're going to swim and play for a couple of days, then we head inland to visit Chitzen Itza. There are many opportunities to visit Chitzen Itza from Cancun. It is one of the most visited tourist sites in Mexico, and tour buses stream there daily. We opt for the freedom of a rental, as we want to visit a few places on our overnight trip. We decide to stay at the Mayaland Resort Lodge, adjacent to Chitzen Itza Archaeological Park. The lodge has an exclusive private entrance to the Maya temples, so when the park opens at 8, we're some of the first ones in. Essentially, you have 2 hours to enjoy Chitzen Itza with modest crowds until the tour buses start rolling in at 10. Chitzen Itza was a major focal point in the northern Maya lands from about our AD 600 to 1200. It was one of the largest Maya cities and had one of the most diverse populations in the Mayan world. There are 2 large sinkholes called cenotes at Chitzen Itza that would have provided plentiful water year-round, making it an attractive place for settlement. It was also well positioned at the intersection of trade routes, so they could deal with locally unavailable resources such as obsidian from Mexico and gold from Central America. Chitzen Itza declined as a regional center by 1250. Even then, the city may not have been abandoned. When the Spanish arrived, they found a thriving local population. The Spanish conquistadors marched on Chitzen Itza in 1533. At first they encountered little resistance and divided up the land between the soldiers. The Maya became more hostile over time, and eventually they laid siege to the Spanish, cutting off their supply lines to the coast, forcing them to barricade themselves amongst the ruins of the ancient city. Months passed, but no reinforcements arrived. They were forced to abandon Chitzen Itza in 1534 under cover of darkness. The Yucatan Peninsula is a limestone plain with no rivers or streams. The region is pockmarked with natural sinkholes. The Cenote Sagrado, which is 60 meters in diameter and surrounded by sheer cliffs, was once the site of pilgrimage for ancient Maya people. They would conduct sacrifices during times of drought. Archaeological investigations support this, as thousands of objects have been removed from the bottom of the cenote, including materials such as gold, jade, flint, obsidian, as well as the skeletons of children and men. The Osario is a step pyramid with a temple on its platform. It has 4 sides with staircases on each side. There's a temple on the top, but unlike El Castillo, at the center is an opening into the pyramid, which leads to a natural cave 12 meters below. El Castillo is the temple of Kukulkan, a Mayan feathered serpent deity similar to the Aztec Quetzalcoatl. This step pyramid stands 30 meters tall and consists of a series of 9 square terraces with a 6-meter temple at the top. Inside the temple chamber was a Chokmal statue. The Chokmal is a rain and thunder god, which can be found chilling in different parts of the Chitzen Itza complex. On the spring and autumn equinoxes, in the late afternoon, the northwest corner of the pyramid casts shadows that look like serpents wriggling down the staircase, a representation of the feathered serpent god. The Temple of the Warriors complex consists of a large stepped pyramid, fronted and flanked by rows of carved columns depicting warriors. At the top of the stairway of the pyramid is a chokmal. Along the south wall of the Temple of Warriors are a series of what are today exposed columns, although when the city was inhabited, they would have supported an extensive roof system. The Temple of Warriors contains pillars with carvings of soldiers in bas relief. Chitzen Itza also has a variety of other structures densely packed in the ceremonial center of about 5 square kilometers, and several outlying subsidiary sites. One could easily spend a day, several days, or a week exploring Chitzen Itza. We have several places to hit today, however, before returning the rental car in Cancun tomorrow by 6, so we essentially run through the site. The next ruins we want to visit are Baalam, just a ways north of the regional city of Valladolid. But first, we'll stop for a tequila tour and lunch in Valladolid. I am certainly no expert on Mayan ruins, more of an enthusiast. I've been fortunate enough to visit a few sites in Mexico, Belize, and Guatemala over the years. Each is unique and has its own spirit, for lack of a better word. Chitzen Itza is busy and crowded. It feels like downtown, and perhaps it always did. Baalam is quite different. It is somewhat off the beaten path and still surrounded by Yucatan scrub forest. A good map takes us over the relatively good roads and bumpy country roads where signage is rare. I guess the tour buses know where they're going. There is hardly anyone in the parking lot, and a teenager offers to watch my car for me. I gladly accept and give him a couple of bucks up front. A couple of Mayan guys dressed in the costumes of their warrior ancestors pose for pictures and teach tourists a few Mayan words. The remains of Baalam were discovered by Europeans over 100 years ago, but it was only in the 1980s and 90s that the site was seriously studied, so it has a very Indiana Jones kind of feel. Baalam was a major city at one time. Its existence spanned over 1,000 years, from the rise and fall of the Mayan culture. Relatively recent evidence of offerings and incense indicate that the Mayan religion is still being practiced in this area. Only the center of Baalam has ever been excavated. Roads stem off the center in the 4 cardinal directions, north, south, east, and west. The Mayans believed in a 3-part cosmos of an upper world, middle world, and lower world spreading out in all the cardinal directions. Visit any Mayan archaeological site and you are likely to see a ball court. Ball courts have been found throughout Mesoamerica, as far south as Nicaragua and as far north as Arizona. These ball courts vary in size, but all have long, narrow alleyways and slanted sidewalls off which the balls could bounce. The word for the game is pits, and what is known is that the game was central to Mayan life and probably played by all demographics, from children to women to warriors. Ritual sacrifice, especially human sacrifice, was a feature of the game, although it is unknown if it was the winners or losers who were killed. The Acropolis houses the tomb of King Ukit Khan Lektok, who ruled from 770, the starting year of the height of this city, to 797 of our Common Era. As a reasonably out-of-shape middle-aged man climbing the pyramid steps in the tropical heat, I think it would be a glorious way to go, collapsing and tumbling down the stone steps of a Mayan pyramid. But I make it to the top, and for the fantastic view, I am aware that this is a privilege. And someday, maybe we won't be allowed to climb these pyramids. Our next stop will be the Cenote Hubiku. Sometimes the best time to visit a site is when the tourists are leaving, not when they're arriving. We arrive at Cenote Hubiku around 2 o'clock, just after the lunch crowds have left. And it's a well-developed tourist site. There's a tequila museum, there's gift stands, of course, and the centerpiece is the cenote, which is a naturally formed cavern caused by the tree roots collapsing the limestone above the groundwater. We're met by a shaman who blesses us, and I'm sure cleanses us before we enter his sacred domain, which is the cenote, still used by Mayan peoples today as a sacred location. Sun illuminates the cenote. We're there a little afternoon, so we didn't get the full dramatic effect. But it's quite marvelous. I guess when the tourists show up, they go swimming here. I'm not much of a swimmer, so I wasn't going to get in. It's 25 meters deep, apparently. Into these guys again. They were at Baalam. I recognize Carolyn. Yeah, so we interrupt their lunch, man. Felt bad about that. Oh, camera's up. Interrupt their lunch.
Okay. I thought you were different guys.
And then we go to a reconstructed Mayan village. At least, you know, I assume it's reconstructed. I don't know if these people live here full time. I kind of doubt it, but I might be wrong about that. But tacos are delicious. If you want to get away from the hustle and bustle of Cancun and get out on the ocean, Isla Mujeres is a short ferry ride away. From either Puerto Juarez or Gran Puerto on the mainland, you can be on Isla Mujeres in less than a half an hour. The main town on the island has a ton of terrific restaurants and bars and clubs, and there are many options for accommodation from cheap to high-end. Also located on the north end of the island is the famous Playa Norte. Transportation on the island is mostly taxis, golf carts, scooters, and you can rent golf carts and scooters and mopeds at several locations in the town. The island is sacred to the Maya goddess of childbirth and medicine, Ixchel. The Spanish named it Isla Mujeres because of the many goddess images. A small Maya temple dedicated to Ixchel was once located on the southern tip of the island. In 1988, Hurricane Gilbert caused extensive damage, leaving most of the foundation but only a small portion of the temple.